The morning shift unfolded like any other near Orlando. Families laughed, coffee poured, and plates clattered. Then a waiter froze mid-stride. A family of four had just been seated, but something was deeply wrong. The younger girl chatted normally, yet the older boy, perhaps 11, was a statue. His hood was up, a mask covered his face, and thick glasses hid his eyes. A full plate of untouched food sat before him. When the waiter approached, the father swiftly interjected, claiming the boy would eat later at home. The waiter retreated but kept watching. From the edge of the dining room, the waiter's unease grew. The boy never lifted his head or reached for silverware. He sat in absolute stillness, a ghost at a celebration. When the child shifted slightly, the waiter saw it, a long scratch between his eyebrows, then a bruise near his eye. The hoodie and mask were not fashion statements. They were camouflage for pain. Facing a choice between finishing his shift safely or acting on a gut feeling, the waiter chose action. He grabbed a pen and paper, writing two simple, powerful words. "Are you okay?" Holding the note where only the boy could see, the waiter waited. The father ate heartily. The mother tended the daughter. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the boy looked at the paper, then at the waiter. He didn't speak or sob. He simply shook his head. No. That single gesture confirmed the waiter's worst fear. Retreating, his mind raced. He wrote a second note. "Do you need help?" Returning, he held it up. The boy read the words. His eyes met the waiter's. Then, very slowly, he nodded. Yes. A small, helpless hand gesture followed, fingers opening and closing, begging the waiter to decide. The waiter called the sheriff's office, gave the details, and waited by the kitchen door, praying the family wouldn't leave. Deputies arrived within minutes, choosing stealth over sirens. One cruiser parked at the lot's edge. Through the window, the deputy saw the large father at the table's head, the oblivious mother, and the boy exactly as described. Hoodie up, head down, food untouched. For several minutes, the deputy observed the surreal scene. A normal family meal surrounding a child who was utterly absent. Radioing his partner, he confirmed the position. Quietly, they entered the busy restaurant and approached. The father's reaction was not fear, but annoyance. He dismissed concerns, calling the boy simply shy. The deputy asked to speak to the boy alone. Reluctantly, the father agreed. Outside in the cold January air, the deputy knelt to eye level. The boy's voice was quiet but clear. He parroted memorized excuses for the bruises. He fell out of bed, hit a nightstand. The answers came too fast, rehearsed. Noting the boy's thin wrists, the deputy changed tactics. He asked about hunger, about fear. The boy deflected. Finally, after a long silence, the boy whispered his father didn't hit him, a statement that was clearly not the full truth. Inside, the father's story spilled out. Ex-military, he claimed his son had behavioral problems. Grounding and spanking having failed, he'd switched to exercise discipline. Planks on hotel carpet until the boy's forehead was raw. The facial bruise? The father said he jumped up to yell, and the boy recoiled into a table leg. He admitted to using a belt. Each sentence introduced new problems: ADHD, a candy wrapper, a neglected lizard, but none explained the constellation of injuries. The deputy stood up. He walked outside to his partner, comparing notes. The father's story was long and defensive. The boy's was short and identical. That wasn't a coincidence. The deputy knelt again and asked the boy to roll up his sleeves. Beneath the hoodie, bruises bloomed, fresh purple and faded yellow, covering both forearms. Lifting his shirt revealed more: ribs, stomach, and a fist-sized bruise dead center on his chest. After a full minute of silence, the boy whispered his father had punched him that morning and hit him with a broom and a broken back scratcher. Then the boy wrote it all down in neat, careful handwriting. He described daily beatings, sleeping alone in a separate hotel room, and the crushing fear of going back. When he finished, he handed the paper to the deputy. The deputy folded the boy's statement into his chest pocket. He walked back to the father, who sat with hands flat on the table, calculating. The deputy announced the father was being detained. The man immediately protested: surgery, military service, excuses. He pulled back when the deputy reached for his wrist, but another officer moved in. Together, they cuffed him. The confused mother began to cry as she was charged with child neglect. The younger daughter finally looked up, watching silently as her parents were led away. The stepfather was charged with aggravated child abuse, a first-degree felony carrying a potential life sentence. At the hospital, doctors found horrors beyond the restaurant bruises, old untreated rib fractures and scars on the boy's back in various healing stages, evidence of months of blunt force trauma. The stepfather went to trial, arguing he was merely a strict parent under stress. The jury saw the photos, read the boy's statement, and deliberated less than 2 hours. The verdict, guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced the stepfather to life in prison. The mother received 5 years probation and lost all custody. The boy was placed with an out-of-state relative. He now eats 3 meals a day, sees a therapist, and no longer hides under a hoodie. Months later, the waiter, who had nearly talked himself out of calling, learned the boy was safe. He didn't feel like a hero, but the detective knew the truth. Most people see something wrong and walk away. The waiter hadn't written the note, made the call, and let a terrified child know someone saw him. If you see a covered-up, silent, bruised child who isn't eating, do not assume someone else will act. You don't need proof. You only need concern. The National Child Abuse Hotline is 1-800-422-4453. Calls are confidential. That one call can shatter a prison of silence.